Namaste, Namaskar, Vanakkam to all the PGurus audience, and happy Diwali wishes to all the audience, advance wishes, and I am sure you would agree with me. I love the interaction with this audience because of their comments, which are extraordinarily useful for improving the way things are to be told. Today, we are taking something very different type of a topic about the movie Kantara. And many people will say, what is this? Suddenly professor jumping into movie reviews and other things. So there is a self-explanation required. In the 70s, I used to write movie reviews for Tamil little magazines, Kanayari, 𝙒𝙬𝙤. Kanayari is strictly not a little magazine, but still 𝙒𝙬𝙤 and other thing. I interviewed I was in Calcutta. I interviewed people like Badal Sarkar, Mrinal Sen, many of the movies. The last movie I recall I reviewed was Calcutta 71, Egattaro. And I have introduced them to the Tamil audience actually. The Dayon, of course, the triumvirate, as they were called those days, Ray, Sen and Ghatak. Ghatak I could not have occasion, neither Ray. Ghatak I should tell Ritwik one aside that he called Gandhi as a 𝙒𝙬𝙤𝙦, pig son, and got away with it actually. He was actually, according to me, among the three, he was the tallest. Anyhow, that's very controversial. Let's not get into those things. So, I had some experience and I should share it with you. I also have undergone a cinematography one-term course during my vacation. So, it's not that I'm not eligible to talk about films, but this is not just about the film itself, the things surrounding the film also. First is this Kundapura forest, Kantara, the forest and its people. It's a very simple story about people of the forest living off the land and for a long period of time. And the development and the government would like to look at those land and try to organize it and maybe acquire it also. And of course, in between a landlord who is a very scheming person, who seems to be helpful to the villagers, but who finally actually becomes a main villain. It's not such a, but the most important part of it is the Varaha, or what you call the Bhuta, in terms of the festivals, in terms of the person who, God who ascends on the person actually. So the dance by him and the local, and of course the chicken fight and fight between then the race of buffaloes and all that is also there present. The important aspect of this film is, this is just not a film, it's an experience. You must see it to understand what it is actually. The film covers a very vast canvas about what are called quote unquote demigods or little gods in Hindu pantheon. We have several layers of gods actually, and some Westerners always used to call us as polytheist. We are not polytheist actually. We are polymorphic in the sense one god, several type of rupa and nama. There is only one God for us. There is no two opinion about it. But all these are several types of Rupa and Nama. Of late, what has happened is, particularly in certain regions of the country like Tamil Nadu and other, there has been a deliberate attempt to distinguish what they consider to be the Aryan God and Dravidian God and all that rubbish actually. This movie explodes a lot of that myth. The movie is actually, it slowly gets on you, in the sense it wraps itself on you. It's like the betel leaf thing slowly climbing a wall or something like that. It's a very, very interesting thing. It has a significant amount of fights and other thing. Its protagonist is not I would not. Some people tell he's a rowdy. He's not like that actually. Maximum you can call him is not productively employed, as his mother always used to complain. But he's one of those do-gooders in the system, and he's also the director and conceiver of the thing, Shetty. It's a very, very interesting thing, the theme. So there is this idea of demigods and big gods and other thing is completely removed in this. Actually, at the end, there is a dialogue which says that all gods are same by the forest official to the protagonist. So, at one level, this movie explains to you the local custom, local tradition, and the way in which Ganadevata or Gramdevata and others are worshipped. And this is not unique to only Kundapura area. It's also in Dakshin Kannada. It's also unique to several parts of the country. I'm sure in the next 5 years, many more of this genre movies will come up. It's not, I'm sure, from Orissa, from Bengal, from several areas of the country. Everywhere there are some Vanadevata, Gramadevata, community, Kuladevata, another thing. People who are settled in Alabama or Auckland, if they have gone a couple of decades only before, they would suddenly realize, yes, the importance of it, and they might try to even have a think in terms of the linkages which were there earlier. It's always there actually. For instance, I come from a territory, Tanjavur, where quite a number of, at least to the best of my knowledge, but a large number of us have as our Kuladevata, the local INR or local type of a god. We worship actually. Sometime it is done once a year or something. Particularly before these events like marriage, childbirth, and other things, a certain type of rituals are conducted. Another point I want to stress is this is not something unique or exclusively to this particular zone. There are Kantaras all over the country actually, and it is a need for us to revive it. And it's part of the Hindu pantheon, part of the system actually. I remember my colleague from US, we were traveling in India, we were traveling by car, and suddenly looked at, and a group of women were worshipping a tree, which you would see in many places, including metropolitan cities. Particularly women who belong to Gujarat or Rajasthan or Marwaris and also some other groups of women, they have a habit of worshipping a tree. He said this is something very unique in India. He has not seen it anywhere except in one Latin American country he was mentioning. Otherwise, people don't worship trees. In Europe, he has not seen it. He has not seen it in China or Russia. So we worship trees, we worship animals, we worship. Actually, if you go to some big temples, you will find many places these snake forms are kept, or the animal forms are kept, another thing. For us, as we should understand, everything is sacred. There is nothing which is not sacred. Actually, opposite of secular is sacred, not communal, as it has been propagated by communists and others. So for us, everything is sacred. So the person on whom who takes the responsibility of representing the God, that is the interesting thing in this. And that is the local way in which they dress up and come out and other things and dance, and something very, very fascinating actually. So it's basically a conflict shown initially between the villagers who have their land and who have their own way of living, and the government which wants to reorganize, structure it, another thing. But interestingly, in the end, the government and the community, they reconcile. It's a landlord actually who is creating this issue, and it has been exposed actually. I'm very glad that that has been done instead of the government police killing large number of villagers and people blaming Modi for doing it, another thing. Instead of that, this is the very interesting type of ending actually. The forest official actually shakes hand with the protagonist, and then the music is extraordinarily what is the word I can use, daunting or mesmerizing, or something which will haunt you. Particularly the last 15 to 20 minutes have been phenomenally made actually. And music, I have not heard this singer earlier, Vignesh, but I'm sure he has a phenomenal future in terms of his music talent and other thing. So, from particular to general, this movie takes you. Particular in terms of the so-called demigod and other thing. General in terms of relationship in the community. Need of what you may loosely call the understanding the level of these gods. This is very. If I remember in the 70s, suddenly there was one 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙥, one film which was not appreciated by the so-called elites and reviewers and other things. That became a smashing hit, and that is of different genre, of not of this type. But anyhow, suddenly it became such a unbelievable hit all over the country. Many of of course, the connoisseurs of meaningful film, and they were not at all, many of them even did not review it actually. So, but this is different. So I'm sure Kantara will, one is earned lot of kudos and maybe awards and other thing. More important is, I think it has set a, what you may loosely call a trend. I'm sure many other movies will now follow it up, and then based on the different type of local issues, and from the south itself, many other movies will come up. And in the context, very interesting, the southern state, Karnataka particularly, has been in the forefront of some of the movies which are having a all India market. So language, I don't think is any bar in this movie. You can just see it without knowing any language. There is absolutely no need for any major language skill in the movies. Of course, is being released in so many languages, Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Hindi, but I don't think this is something very, very interesting. The unifying factor of our Sanatana Dharma, our Indian culture, is transcending language. It's not, people immediately understand. For instance, the current president, when she was president-elect, she was seen before even being president-elect, before when she was announced as, she was seen actually sweeping a temple floor and then going to the Nandi, and in the ears of the Nandi whispering some wishes or requirement or anything. This is done by her in her own village, but this is very common all over the country. You come to any temple in south, many youngsters who do the same thing. So the commonality, underlying commonality of culture is something, and that is actually the core of our unity in diversity. We celebrate diversity. At the same time, we try to find the common thread in our. So there are a lot of similarity or commonality in terms of our culture, in terms of our beliefs, in terms of our faith and other things. There are some people who talk all type of rubbish that Hinduism doesn't have this and that is that. Hinduism has got everything. It's a as I remember, I think it is Chinmayananda. Somebody was telling we have got a book, in our religion. What do you have? He said, we have a library, not one book. So that is the type of a thing. So this movie actually, you see it actually, you experience it. It shakes you. Completely it shakes you. And the music haunts you. Music will stay with you for a long period of time. So I would definitely say this is a, and this Varaha is not represented as some local issue or anything. Varaha is actually is a universal representation, universal phenomena actually. Finally, the protagonist himself takes up the act of what one can call taking the role of the god ascending on him, and it's a entire community is combined, including that of the forest official. It's a very interesting thing actually, and so this movie is a major milestone, I would say. I'm not trying to exaggerate or anything. It's a big milestone, and I would definitely sincerely thank Shetty, the Bunt. I read my book on caste social capital to know about bunts, who have always been pioneering in various other areas also. Like this, there are so many other groups all over the country. I'm sure people will come up with very, very interesting future. I would say not films, but experiences like this. This is something very, very good. The singers, the other actors, the protagonist, the cinematographic technique, everything requires to be phenomenally appreciated. Except I have always my views on this. I feel it too long, 2 hours and 50 minutes, and I belong to the genre of 90-minute classrooms. So I think if something can be told in 90 minutes, it should be told in 90 minutes. So this could have been, according to me, this could have been taken as a 2 movies actually. Kantara 1 and Kantara 2. Very easily. And enough what one loosely call in the masala is there in order to do 2 movies. But anyhow, people like, I think, this marriage, shadi, that dinner plate, or in South as they call in banana leaf. Every dish has to be served. But I belong to the category where one pongal and vada is enough. If they are tasty, if they are done well, that would suffice. And next round one can have dosa or something. Anyhow, it's something which gets into you, I would say. It's very, very few movies gets into you, actually. And I should also confess that after nearly, roughly 2 decades, I think, I went to a cinema hall to see a movie of this Kantara. And that itself will tell you about what, pushed me or whatever it is. So I wish the director and others associated with this to come out with many more. And I am sure many more all over the country will also be interested in bringing out. And the last point, very important, is Mangalore is considered as a saffron laboratory. A lot of things are taking place there in order to enhance the saffron, or what is called the sangha. And this movie has come from Mangalore is no surprise to me actually. This is a very, very important point to note. And this movie actually is going to alter the way in which future cinemas are going to be looked at. And it's not the traditional type of, oppressed and depressed and like a toothpaste, we are getting squeezed and other thing about one group of people versus other group of people, and caste conflict and all these things actually. It's about unity of the community and commonality in terms of values, and stressing the nature of the integrated linkages in culture. So I'm very happy about it. Wish all the best to the various constituents of this movie. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.